Okay.
Hello, welcome back. This is King Jacob with the Big Mouth Media podcast platform. And today I have two special invited guests. And so the topic will be, health is wealth. But without further delay, I'll go ahead and allow them to introduce themselves. So I have first Miss Bettina Walker, childhood friend. We always know she was a smart brainiac when we was growing up. So I'm gonna go ahead and let her tell a little bit about herself and introduce herself, and then we'll go to another special invited guest. Yes.
Hi, my name is Bettina Bennett-Walker. I still keep the Bennett because the legacy is too heavy to drop. Again, I'm a native of Saluda, South Carolina. I mean, thank you, Jay, for inviting me back. We've got some good things that is going on in Saluda coming up on tomorrow, so I'm excited to kind of share and just have a good time tonight.
All right, thank you for that. And next we have Miss Geraldine Bennett-Briscoe. The legacy is strong here tonight. So I'll go ahead and let her introduce herself as well.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me on. My name is Geraldine Bennett-Briscoe. I'm also native of Saluda, South Carolina. Also the CEO of God Bless Ministry, who is also doing it the second year. They're in Saluda, the Thanksgiving drive. In other words, passing out farm produce. And also last year we did turkey drive. So this year we're going to do gift cards. Also correctional officer, author, book out Living Sacrifice. Also working on the revised edition of that.
All right. You heard it first. So I guess we'll get started with the topic, health is wealth. And but before we go into that topic, just want to get started into you guys' position, in the corporate America existence and the accomplishments that you have, accomplished while being in corporate America. So, Bettina, I'll go ahead and let you lead off with that topic as well.
Well, currently, I'm an IT project manager for one of the biggest agencies in South Carolina. And I mean, literally years of healthcare experience from the hospital, from federal contracting. And so now I land and find myself in the IT field. So just multiple years, just learning, being teachable. I always tell people to be teachable and just doing whatever is needed to be done. And so I'm also, like I said before, I'm also a working entrepreneur. So I'm the owner of Miss Annie's Janitorial and Decluttering Services, LLC, based out of Columbia, South Carolina. And so I have a team that does commercial cleanings and residential cleanings as well. We also do professional organizing. We help the hoarders in life. So we will have a special that will be coming up pretty soon, going into 2022.
All right. Thank you so much. Miss Geraldine Bennett-Briscoe, if you could let us know what your place is in corporate America and just some of your background in corporate America as well.
Okay, thank you. My background in corporate America started out with, in other words, always been with the city or government. Also 9.5 years of accounting. And when I say accounting, that was from managing budgets from 500 to 100 to 1.5 million, knowing the accounts of 122 employees, overseeing 13 grants. So that was where I really started learning to do and get involved with investments, learning for different ways to where I want to put my money, where I want, in other words, watching to make sure that it grows. And I always look for like the underdog, the thing that people don't think is going to move or that's going to take place. That's where I put most of my money, and that's where I invest into.
Okay, so with that being said, I just have to piggyback off that, and this is a question for you and Bettina. I want to talk about two things off what you just said, Miss Briscoe. You said how to grow your money and where to put it. So I want to talk about economic growth and residual income. And so, Bettina, if you can, cause a lot of times the youth are interested in Coinbase and crypto. They're interested in the foreign exchange market, and I'm talking about high schoolers. So knowing how to, you know, control those markets and where to put the money at. So that's a form of economic growth and residual income. So, Bettina, what would you say would be the best advice that you can give to the youth about that?
So from my experience, because I do invest as well, is to read. You can pretty much put everything's on the internet. So do your research. You have to take a risk. Even being an entrepreneur, you have to invest to be able to get some type of return
Hmm.
on it. So you have to read. I always look at, things, what are you good at? That's an investment too. What are you good with your hands? Because our hands produce the wealth that we need from that. So just reading and knowing what to do and how to do, and look at people that are successful in doing it, and also research their background, because a lot of times, on social media you see people that say they do this and say they do that, but to actually understand what their background is and what to do and how to do it. I've had mentors, financial mentors, through Primerica that literally, taught me things concerning IRAs, crypto, different things of that such. So always look to them and look to others that have already done it on that. But reading is the best thing. Find books about crypto. How did it get started? So much literature that's on there to read about it. And with everything, it's always a risk. So just know that, it may not take off at first, but just let it sit there for a minute. That's the part of investing that takes place. Sometimes, like right now, like Sheeb is one of the one of the coins that a lot of our generation is really investing in right now, with that, and some multi coins as well. And so with everything, there's a risk to it. I will also say, read what the government says about it. So therefore, certain apps where you can trade. However, such as Robinhood, when it came down to the AMC changes, as well as GameStop, and how the rhetoric kind of ran up things, or whatever the case may be, and people made a lot of money off of it. In
Hmm.
certain areas, did not want to release funds on that. So you have to kind of read what the changes are. If you use Robinhood, if you use crypto.com, Coinbase, different things of that such, read those terms and conditions. Read those terms and conditions, because it will tell you what they're going to allow you to do and what you're not going to be able to do on that. So my best advice is to read and research from there.
Okay. Thank you for that. Okay, Miss Briscoe, would you like to chime in, please?
Yes, I just want to add to what I do is that I got an email that I had set up that where I just have trading tips, different type of companies that I sign up with that does investment, and I just have them to come to that email that I have set up. So that way I don't have to worry about any other junk mail or anything that's coming there and stuff. So I'm able to take my time to really go through it and stuff. And first of all, the first thing you have to do, you have to have a mindset that you want to pursue it. In other words, like no matter how it looks, no matter how it's gonna turn out, I'm gonna, in other words, be committed to it. You
Mm-hmm.
got to have commitment. You got to have a thirst and a hunger for it. If you
Mm-hmm.
don't have a thirst and a hunger for it, and you don't have the commitment, or you saying that you don't have the time, then in other words, you might as well, in other words, just put your money in a shoebox and just hide it and stuff. So it's about commitment. One of the things that I get into is with the government, and they have where you can set up your own account. You can go in, you can buy T-bills, you can buy bonds. The one that really, the e-bonds are the ones that you make money, but you don't make that much. But it's the one that is the I-bill and I-bond. And that's the one too that you can make money. You can see it grow real fast. But the thing about it, you have to be willing, in other words, to set aside that money for a period of time and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you're looking for something quick, um, turnaround, that's the reason why I put everything to this email address that I have so that I can sit and look at, do I really want to go into that? And then I also get involved too with the S&Ps, the Standard and Poor's and stuff. And also just being looking at the trademark. If you really have a thirst and hunger for it, when you got a thirst and a hunger for something, you will learn, you will take the time, you will sit down, you will do your research, you will do your study. But if you don't do that and stuff, you think it's just going to be something that's going to be a popcorn, put in the microwave and it's going to happen just like that. It doesn't happen like that. It means you have to be like Bettina was saying, you have to, in other words, have that time, and you got to be committed to it. You have to
Mm-hmm.
be committed.
All right. All right. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. So just wanted to chime in on that because I see it all over the place. I see a lot of young kids that's 16, 17, making $4, 5, $6,000 monthly. I read about them on blogs and on the internet all the time. So, that's definitely the way of the future. It's helping bridge the gap with generational wealth. So, it's definitely the way of the future. So we're gonna get into this topic that you know um didn't hear a lot about this topic when I was growing up, but as we grew and we get grown and we start noticing our body change and we start talking about nutrition and the nutrients and how to get the toxins out your body and stuff like that. So this topic is health is wealth. So we'll start with you first, Bettina. What does that topic mean to you? Health is wealth.
Um, it means a lot. I mean, mind, body, and soul, health wise, um, you know, growing up in the South, it's pretty much where, it's the fried chicken, it's everything with butter, cream cheese, the sugar diabetes tea, and so,
Mhm.
growing up in those eras, I had a great childhood. I really did. Thanks to our grandmother. Thanks to my grandmother. Um,
Right? Yeah.
yeah, thanks to
Mhm.
my grandmother, I had a really good childhood, on the eating side. But the more that you begin to, um, the more that you begin to kind of know, and you kind of start seeing, what is diabetes, what is sugar, so they say, and how diabetes take control over your body, how it affects your eyesight, how it affects your kidneys, and different things like that. Because you can make all the money in the world, but
Mhm.
if you're not healthy enough to be able to leave a legacy, what's the point of it? And so, in our generation, it's like secure the bag. I'm about securing the bag. It's like, okay, you can secure the bag. However, you need to secure your health too. You need to make sure you get those regular checkups that's needed. Make sure that you have an understanding, even going to, and I'll let, I call her auntie. I'm sorry. Let auntie kind of go into more of the detail with
Mhm.
that. But working from a standpoint, I was diagnosed with ovarian cancer at the age of 27. That was a scary thing. I was, working a full-time job, part-time job, going to grad school, finishing my MBA, landed a really good position at one of the top hospitals here in Columbia. And I got up that morning and couldn't walk. And so my roommate at the time had to say, hey, we're gonna go ahead and call the ambulance. I'm praying like, Lord, what's going on? And they told me I had 2 tumors on my left ovary. And so then that next series of things that happened, they took my blood test, and they kind of just went through and said, okay, your CA 125 levels. And I'm like, what's CA 125? I've never heard of that, but those things, yeah, you get your female checkups and different things like that, but you never ask, to run different kind of tests that are needed. So I'm an advocate for people that, when you do get the blood test, it's okay um, if it's not covered by your insurance, if you have insurance. But my CA 125 levels was off the roof. So they were like, hey, we got to do emergency surgery. They removed my left ovary. They tested and different things like that. I had to go through a series of treatment injections for a year and a half. I lost a little hair from that standpoint, but I was so grateful that I was able to understand what it means to make sure that you listen to your body. I had the symptoms. I had the bloatness. I had the, just feeling real irritable. But I thought, oh, maybe it's something that I ate, or maybe it's because I'm running, I'm ripping, I'm doing different things like that. From that standpoint, yes, I can still have children, so that's a good thing. However, if I would have listened to my body to say, hey, look, slow down. It's not that serious, it could have been really, really detrimental for me. But I'm very grateful to God, and thank God that I was in the right place at the right time, and being able to be accessible to healthcare. And that's another thing too. Being able to be accessible to a good oncologist, a good gynecologist, that actually had that conversation with me to break things down, and not just left me after treatment, but they still follow up with me. I still go to my doctor's visits. I get tested. I was getting tested like every 60 days just to see if the cancer was there. Then from there, they test me every 6 months. And then now they just do once a year just to make sure everything is good. So I said all that to say is that, don't spend so much time trying to secure the bag, but you need to secure your health.
Amen.
Well said. Well said. Well said. Appreciate you shedding light on your situation, your story, how you overcame, and how we should secure their health. Because without the health, you can't get the bag for sure.
That's right.
So, for sure. So, Miss Briscoe, so what does that topic mean to you? Health is wealth, and I'm gonna say this right here. It's interesting to me. When she sent me the photo of you, I said, yes, she's definitely a Bennett for sure. And what's interesting about it, you've lived through the I call it the tough times, because
Mm-hmm.
when my father was here, he used to always talk about those tough days of the depression days of the late '60s and the '70s, in which something that the kids now would never understand, because I can say that I've never went through that. So for you guys to really go through that and still be standing tall and strong, and still just really stand on top of it, not just stand up, but y'all stand on top of it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that really makes a difference. So what was that topic mean to you? Health is wealth.
For me, it means to stop and really look at. Um, we know as African Americans, we know what the statistics are that
Mm-hmm.
runs in an African American race, our race, in our families. And the one thing that I had to realize and understand is just because it's in my family does not mean that it has to be in my bloodline. It does not have to be like that for me. So in order for me to do it, because I just recently went through a thing as far as having they're still trying to determine whether it was a stroke or what it was and stuff. And um, I just started journaling, eating to live, because now it's like, okay, you know what? I don't need the whole pie. You know what? I don't need, in other words, what I thought I could just not do without, or, how you just say, oh, I just love this type of food. I just love, but you know what? When you get sick or when something happens to you where, your eyes become open and you see
Mm-hmm.
that you got to change the way that you're eating and stuff, is like, you know what, I really don't love that. I really don't love that taste. I really can do without it, and stuff. So it was about even growing up, and stuff, and how the way we were raised and all that and stuff. But at that time when we were growing up, we were very active also. But it was after becoming an adult that we kind of, used to, growing up, you could walk everywhere to the store and all this and stuff. You didn't mind carrying a bag of groceries home and stuff. But, after we got an adult, it was jump in the car, go to the store, park as close as I can to the door to go in there and get the groceries, just get the stuff that I know I'm not supposed to be having and stuff.
Right.
So, it's just, it opened my eyes. So now I say, and I try to tell everybody about, it's okay to say that you love something, but you know what? Don't let it be something that you love to death. Let it be something that you love to life. In other words, hey, it's okay. It's okay. In other words, you can still have pie, you can still have cake, but you ain't got to eat the whole thing, and stuff. And if you know that you don't have control with the things that you love, then you know what? Don't buy it. Don't buy it,
Mm-hmm.
don't buy it and stuff. And then, because I used to be a cigarette smoker, and I had to stop and think one day, and it was kind of like, you want to fuss and you want to complain about what people are doing to you and how they're treating you. Look at how you're treating yourself. Look at, and it says right there on the package of the cigarette package, it says the Surgeon General gives you a warning and stuff. And and I stopped that, and that's how I stopped smoking. That's how I stopped smoking cigarettes. I went cold turkey and everything. And I just kept thinking about that. So now I started doing that with food and everything. I said, I want to sit and get upset when somebody treat me wrong or say something wrong to me. But look what I'm doing to myself. Look what I'm doing. Is nobody's putting this food in my mouth. Nobody's
Mm-hmm.
making me sit down and eat the whole cake. Nobody, in other words, is making me, drink all the soda pops. Nobody's doing that. I'm doing that to me. So you got to first learn how to love yourself and appreciate yourself. In other words, and just, in other words, take control and stuff, and just realize that, food and all this stuff, it doesn't have control over me. I'm going to have control over it. And once you get your mind changed, then you will see, in other words, the wealth, the open doors, in other words, the places and the things that
Mm-hmm.
you can do with money.
All right then. You heard it first. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. I appreciate, and it sounds great coming from uh a young person in my generation, but it just sounds so prolific coming from somebody who's lived through generations and generations and is still here to talk about what they overcame and just still dropping them jewels to the younger generation as well. Yeah,
Mhm.
so I definitely appreciate that. So let's talk about Saluda, South Carolina, and let's talk
Mhm.
about the holiday Thanksgiving drive. And Bettina, you can start it off and just I mean, we can reiterate on what we talked about last year on how this came about, and it's repeated. It's like repeatedly going on, and it's I think it's a great thing, for the town of Salute, and just for it's a great way for us to fellowship with one another as well, man. As people, cause I feel like a lot of us don't fellowship like we used to, and so, with that being said, that's a blessing on top of a blessing. So, if you can enlighten us a little bit more on how it came about and how you connected with your auntie and with Healthy Blue as well.
All right. So, as you know, last year we had Thanksgiving turkey giveaway. We gave over close to about 300 turkeys last year. We partnered with Healthy Blues, and so it kind of came about. I do a lot of community service. I'm part of a lot of organizations here in Columbia, South Carolina, and so I always said, hey, look, if y'all ever got funding for Saluda, just let me know. Don't go to nobody else, come to me, because I'm gonna make sure that it gets there from that standpoint. And so I put it out. I always we have a family group chat. And I say, hey, look, we've got a turkey drive we're going to do at Pleasant Hill, which is our family church, where our legacy which is my grandparents, Aunt Jerry's mother, John and Anna Lee Bennett. They were, very, very loyal, not only to the community, but to God, and also to ministry. So this is nothing new to our family. So it's just something that God allowed us to do. And so I put my bid out there, and Jerry said, hey, I'm going to match you, through God Bless Ministry. God Bless Ministry is a family ministry where we do things behind the scenes. You may not see, us paying somebody's light bill. You may not see somebody's rent being paid in Saluda County, different things like that, or someone's Christmas being bought, because we don't do things just for clout. That's what I like to say, or for the pictures, the photo ops, but we do things because we know that God has given us the spirit to be able to be a giver, because it's better to give than to receive. And so with that, my business, we sponsored some God Bless Ministries match, and just community partners that I work with in Columbia all the time. We do things here as well. So I'm just very grateful to the Pleasant Hill Baptist Church to allow us to be able to come back and be a blessing. And so with us and our family, we're like, hey, we've got people coming in from Detroit, Michigan, and people that stay here in Saluda and Greenwood and different things like that within our family that comes. And this is our second year. So we are very grateful to be able to be a blessing to the community of Saluda again. And some things that we do want to bring to Saluda that are coming. I'm going to hold that tight. I'm not going to release it as of yet. But for the most part, it's just a blessing. You see so much dysfunction in families, and so we're really grateful that we can come together as one and be in the unity of the spirit and get it done. So we have Healthy Blues, which is Medicaid. It's a managed care organization through Medicaid that does a lot of things. I mean, they do a lot in the Midlands region. And so Saluda is one of those areas where it's rural. It's a food desert. A food desert is considered, not having accessibility to good produce, good food, different things of that such. And it's also considered, Saluda is also considered, quote unquote, a food slump. A food slump is basically saying, yeah, you have access to food, but it's not the best food. We have access in Saluda to McDonald's, Burger King, and different things of that such. But when it comes down to actually having multiple grocery stores, most people travel, if they, for price wise, they may travel to Batesburg, Leesville, to go to the Walmart. So they may go to Greenwood, or they may go to Newberry, even to that standpoint. And so this year we're bringing along Food Lion. We know that was a big switch that took place from Bilo. They were bought out by Food Lion and Lowe's. And so you see mostly the Lowe's foods in the higher end areas. They have better quality of food, better quality of meat, different things of that such. But for the most part, rural areas, Lowe's they didn't infiltrate Lowe's in that area. So it again turned to Food Lion on that. So, I mean, we're just grateful. We're very humble people. And we just want to make a difference in the community, behind the scenes. I put it like that. That's just my 2 cents. We're grateful for the opportunity to be able to talk to you today, just to get the message out, but there are more things to come. And so I'm gonna turn it over to, Aunt Jerry.
All right. Okay. Before you get started, Ms. Briscoe, I just want you to go into detail about your ministry, and then because I need to know what your ministry is about. You know what I mean? For sure.
Okay.
Cause cause you from the home front, so I definitely know what that ministry is about. You know what I mean? So Just go into how your ministry got started, what it's about, and then you can pick up where Bettina left off, please, if you don't mind.
Okay. How God Bless Ministries got started. It started from remembering mostly my mom. My mom and what mom used to would do there on Waters Avenue. It didn't matter, who came over to play with us, who came over, because it was always children at our house. But mom made sure if those children was there when it was time to eat, whatever we had to eat, she made sure that, in other words, they got to eat with us. If there was children that came there that didn't have on the proper clothing, or something was wrong with their clothing, mom, in other words, she would do it. She would give it to them. She never went to their parents to say, well, your child, was missing this, or your child didn't have on this. But she never did that. She just did it and just went on about her business and stuff. And I just started, and in other words, just thinking about how she just gave, even though we didn't have a lot, and stuff, but it was never a no. It was never a no to anybody, to any child, or any family in the community. It was never a no. So with that, that's why we started out with just God Bless Ministry, and that's why we put on the legacy of John and Annie Lee Bennett, because, in other words, the love that she instilled in us, love that she showed to us to care for other people, and stuff. And if your needs are being met, it's okay to help somebody else. It's
That's right.
okay, to reach over and help your neighbor and stuff. And so that's what God Bless Ministries, that's how it got started. What I will say, I thank God for my niece Bettina um, um, with Health Blue. I think I'm getting it right.
Healthy
Yeah,
Blue.
Healthy Blue and stuff, because that was just, in other words, a door opener. In other words, to make it as far as more of a heartfelt, because Saluda is the area that we grew up in. It's the area that I know, and I look at all the millionaires. I look at all them that want to go and help across the waters and stuff. And and I just started thinking about that. I said, well, what about their own community? I knew they grew up somewhere, and stuff. So I'm a firm believer that if you reach back and just go back and help your community, help build, really see the need there and have a compassion heart for it and stuff, it's not about the race. It's not about, hey, we are all in this pot together. We're all in this pot together. I might just be living in a different state, but you know what? My heart is back in Saluda, and the people in Saluda. And and I just, in other words, that's what I thirst and hunger. In other words, to help, the families, to help, hey, the people there in Saluda. There are a lot of things that we are, in other words, getting involved with, from shelter to finance, to, in other words, I want to say also transportation. And it's a big avenue and stuff, and opening up areas, but it's all back to help the community, to help the people to make themselves better, to help. It doesn't matter what language they speak, and stuff. It's about, in other words, helping one another. That's what it's about. That's what makes, in other words, I don't care where you at as in a community. I don't care where you at the bottom, but if you just, in other words, connect with your neighbor, if you connect with your people there in your hometown, you could be a surprise how that town can turn around, how that city can turn around. And I look at it like this. I say, God Bless Ministry. In other words, we're changing one community at a time.
All right. That's what I'm talking about. That's exactly what I'm talking about. And
Yeah.
so with you guys partner up and having the event tomorrow, a Pleasant Hill Baptist Church, from 4 to 6 p.m. So I would tell people, please don't wait to the last minute. Get there early. Get there early. So you should be in the line at least between 3 and 3:30 for sure. So with that being said, it's very important that you you guys have linked up as auntie and a niece, and the Bennett
Mm-hmm.
family legacy and the Pleasant Hill Church community legacy, and just just the greater Saluda area, just to rebrand and restructure the whole, city and county of Saluda. So, what are the plans, or what do you foresee that could happen on the restructuring and the rebranding of Saluda County as a whole?
What I see is that, in other words, the more that um, you, in other words, get out there, and the more that you give people, in other words, the opportunities to let them learn and know about you. Because I'm like this, you can say a lot of things, but it's always action and stuff. And once people realize and see, in other words, that you're making a difference, you will have people that um unknowingly, in other words, that wants to be a part of it, and that wants to, in other words, participate and stuff. So our goal is also to bring all the churches together, to get them to, get involved. Hey, it's okay. A lot of times, I don't know why the church is, why we think this, that it's going to be, when we get to heaven, it's going to be a Baptist over here, it's going to be CME over there. It's not going to be that. It's not going to be denominations. No denominations in heaven. So in other words, if we can't get it together here on earth, how do we expect to go up yonder and think that it's going to be the same way it was down here on the earth? That's not
Right.
how it is. It's about, in other words, helping, loving one another, having a compassion heart and stuff. And one thing I have found out, that don't despise small beginnings, and stuff, because that's your time, that's your process. In other words, getting things worked out, that's your process. And also learning about who you're partnering with. In other words, whether they are committed to it and stuff. And I think there are a lot of companies too that's out there that are willing, in other words, to donate. But when they don't see any fruit, you can donate for a certain length of time, and when they don't see any fruit, then they're gonna start pulling back. They're gonna pull
Mm.
it back. But I speak that into existence, that that's not gonna be God bless ministry. In other words, we're gonna have, in other words, people. I'm even looking at talking to there's a Christian movie that's coming out and stuff on December the 25th. And I don't know if you probably know, if you know about football. And his name was Kurt. I got it last name. I just went and saw the preview of it. But I talked to the manager of the Kingdom Company. Yeah, and stuff. And I was telling him about what was going on and stuff. And he gave me his name and everything. And he said, just let us know. He said, and we'll try to get something together. He said, I know I can't do it this year. He said, but for next year, and stuff. So it's about, in other words, connecting, and Salute is, regardless of where I go, Salute is, I'm always talking about God bless ministry. In other words, that go back and to help. Because I think that if each individual, regardless of where they're from, if they went back and helped in their community, help, in other words, to restore their community, a lot of things could change. A lot of things could change, and people will begin to know that you're there for them. You're not, in other words, going to abuse them, and stuff, and building that trust again, building that trust with people.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Okay, okay. So, Bettina, man, your auntie said a lot, boy.
Yes.
Ooh wee. So, um, I know you're gonna piggyback off this, and once you piggyback off this, we're gonna do some bullet points. Because I know that you are really, really exclusive when it comes to them bullet points. For real, for real. So we're gonna do some bullet points. So, just to piggyback off what Miss Briscoe said, what's your thoughts?
Um, execution is the biggest, but also positioning. Um, you know, uh, it's so many people that I've graduated with that moved away, oh, I don't want to come back, or but
Mhm.
being in position to be a blessing, to go back, to reach, those, or to help those, that you may have played basketball with, or you may have sat next to in church. That's the part. I had a conversation. I did a outreach workshop 2 Saturdays ago, and I said, the church. It was really the first platform that we really had our first speaking opportunity, such as Easter, such as
Mhm.
thinking of counting money, working in finance, recording, being a secretary,
Yeah.
and different things like
Mm-hmm.
that. And so, when you realize that in rural areas, churches are the foundation of those
Yeah.
areas. That spread the information, during announcements and different things of that such. But what I foresee alongside with my aunt is that we have to execute. I rode around, I ride around sometimes, and I kind of look at Bald Knight Ferry area and how it used to be, and how different
Mhm.
things and how live it used to be. And so now it's kind of like taking a dip. And I kind of mentioned this last time I was here about who are your elected officials? What
Right.
what are your city council? What are they doing? What are they just there? All you do you just see them just to make sure they get that vote? But do they actually have a voice? Do they actually have a vote? School board, same thing. When the school board is open, and when they have meetings and different things, how many parents go? What agendas are they pushing for the community, to make sure that all things are taken care of, or all things can at least be started. It goes down even to the place when it comes down to our Senate. U.S. representative, what are their agendas? Everything is on the internet. Everything's on the internet. And so it comes to a point in time where we have to make sure that we put ourselves in position, that we also be in the know of what's going on. And when we know, therefore, when it comes down to partnerships, that we execute. We have so much to offer. Saluda has so much to offer, but it all boils down to the execution of what's needed for the community. We see, the gun violence has increased. Seeing people that I used to see in Pampers, getting killed and different things of that such, that hurts. That's somebody's child. That's somebody's legacy that just died. So what's the issue with that? And we see a rise of gun violence all over the nation. But when I started hearing about it happening in Saluda, I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. It's too close to home, from the simple point. So it just
Right.
comes down to the place where, as a community, we have to come together as one, regardless. We have to execute when partners want to come in. And that's why God Bless Ministries is so relevant. It's because, there are partners that want to come in and they want
Yes.
to, but they want to make sure they have that trust. They want to make sure that your name is good, that your reputation is good, on that. And so, I'm a big believer, to make sure that you keep your name good. You know, when it comes down to that,
Amen.
because when it comes down to networking, it's not pretty much where people are like, oh, we see you on Instagram, we see you on Facebook, but when they really have a conversation, can they really understand where you're going, or where you're trying to take a thing, or if we provide $10,000 worth of funding for a house, we want to make sure that we execute it effectively and efficiently, on that. So it's just a lot of things. That we not only sit back, but we also pray,
That's it.
but we also, come together to say, hey, look, if this is something that don't be afraid to share it. I
Right.
meet a lot of entrepreneurs that don't want to share information. And it's like at the end of the day, you're still the host of the information, but just planting a seed, for that person to be able to prosper, and be able to be effective, is a part of execution as well. So I'm always an open book. I'm always very transparent. If there's anything that I can help someone with, if there's anything that I can find, I'm gonna find it. If there's anything that to start a business and to start it correctly, and how to make sure that you put things in order and put things in place. Hey, you ask me, I'm gonna tell you, because if the more that I can tell you to help you, for making the mistakes that I made as an entrepreneur, that's what I'm here for. But like I said before, just to kind of piggyback, execution, That's the big thing. We can have ideas, but the execution part, we have to make sure we execute, because we have, like, people are dependent on us. We're all connected to a nation. Each one of us is connected to a nation, and so we have to make sure that we're in position to be a blessing.
Amen.
Right. Okay. Definitely. So you you hit close to home. You said, who are your elected officials and what are they doing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is what I want to know per se. I want to know, when it comes to communities and money, uh, the communities get a lot of grant money, statewide, countywide, citywide, and government grants. So each town or city has those access to get those type of grants and recreational grants, educational grants. And so I kind of want to know what's the process of the grant. And I heard a young lady from Chicago say the other day on a live. She said, "Why does the black community only get 3% of the grant money?"
Mhm.
She said, why is there not a YMCA in every black community? Why is there not a Boys and Girls Club in every black community? You know, um, why is there not a a Future Business Leaders of America Youth Edition meetings every Thursday night for the young black youth scholars? And so it makes sense to what she said. So just want you to chime in on that for a little bit, Bettina, and cause I just like to know where the grant money is going and why is it not? Why, if the black community is getting it, why doesn't it show?
Well, for one, with a grant, you got to read the clauses, and you got to read
Right.
what the expectations are. You also have to make sure that you have the right organization set up to be able to execute it. Number one. Number two, yes, there's plenty of grant money, but you have to have people that know how to write grants, such as my aunt. She can tell you more so on
Mm-hmm.
the grant side. From the education part of the stand up view, is that, hey, look, there's money out there, but where are the infrastructures? Where are the organizations?
Mm-hmm.
If there was a Boys and Girls Club to come to Saluda, where would it go? Will the school be a host of it, or will the school district be open for it to come? Another thing that's really huge, and we talked about it during my outreach workshop, is, hey, what about job fairs? you know
Mm-hmm.
what about the accessibility of being able to get free certificates in IT and be able to work from home?
Mm-hmm.
From that standpoint, the bandwidth part, when it comes down to internet, certain areas of Saluda has it and certain areas don't. It just depends on the infrastructure and the organizations that are looking for that. And so you have to make sure that the organization is set up to be able to accept the grant, but you also have to make sure you write it to make sure that it's enough to be able to cover the area that's needed with that. And so there are a lot of grants. You can look online. It's a lot, but the thing is that what structure, what infrastructure, what partners in Salute are open for the money to come in and for it to be executed on that. And so I'm gonna turn it over to my aunt, because she has a lot of experience concerning grant writing, and different things dealing with the school district and stuff like that.
Okay.
Okay. I first want to, acknowledge about for Saluda, um, when I was there and stuff, talking to um, one of the town council people and stuff, and it really hurt my heart when he told me this, but he told me because there were some problems that was going on with some property and stuff down there on
Hmm.
Waters Avenue, and he stood there and he told me, he said there was a grant that was written for Saluda. It was to put in drain pipes on along Waters Avenue, and to have it connected where it came out to Bald Knight Ferry Road. They got the grant. They got the grant. And I said, well, how come it didn't take place? He said, Well, they only took care of the area on Travis and Waters Avenue, and they stopped there. And I said, so well, what did they do with the money? He said, well, they took the money and they put it over into the white community. And I turned and I looked at him. I said, so you're representing us. You're representing us. You sitting on the town council. You're representing us. And I said, you didn't have any say so. You knew it was wrong. You didn't have any say so. You just let it went and stuff. And he gonna try to say, well, it was the majority. I said, no. I said, you knew what that money was designated for and stuff. I said, don't you know that makes it hard that if, in other words, Waters Avenue was to form a committee, in other words, to try to get a grant, that if they go to that same place that you guys got this grant from, it's going to be not because you guys didn't do what you were supposed to do with the money and stuff. And when I heard that, and when he told me that, then I thank God for his honesty to stand there and tell me that and stuff. So that's what made me really understand and get into the grant writing and stuff. And like my niece is saying, the infrastructure and all that and stuff. But you got to have, in other words, people that are, it goes back to commitment. Also, those that, in other words, that are in position, whether it be a town or a city. And the ones that are writing the grant, in other words, to make sure that the money is going to what it's saying that it's going to go for and stuff. And so that, in other words, that can put a hamper on somebody that is legit and truly wants to build the community, wants to build the area. They got to go through all this red tape and prove that, I'm not that company. I'm not that the people that, in other words, misused the grants before and stuff. So, it's about, in other words, diligence. It's about, in other words, being truthful and honest with the people, getting the people involved with it, with education and stuff. There are a lot of grants with education, in other words, to build, in other words, the community. If the children are, in other words, whatever areas they're liking, to bring in an after school program and everything. A lot of the school districts are open to it. They will do it and stuff, and they'll let you run it. If you get a grant, say for an after school program and stuff, but you got to make sure you got the right people. You got the right people on there and that's going to do things the right way and do it. I ain't trying, in other words, I just want to make sure mines, get taken care of, or make sure, this section get taken care of. No, it's about, in other words, making sure you're doing the right thing for everybody, doing the right thing for everybody and stuff. But that's the key thing about it. When you get a grant, you got to make sure, in other words, when you get it, you got to make sure you got to have documentation to show that, you did apply the money here and stuff. And sometimes nowadays, what they're starting to do with grants, if you get a grant and you send in information saying that, okay, this is the money, what we use for that, they'll send people out and take pictures to actually follow through and see, are you saying exactly what you said you did with the money and stuff. Not only do you have to provide them with the paperwork and the receipts and all that and stuff, but they're actually sending people out to make sure that you did, which to me, I don't think is a problem. I think it's a good thing because that way you're making sure that the money is being used for what it's supposed to be used for, what it's designated to be used for, and everything. And the key thing also is to getting back to getting parents involved, getting them involved with, in other words, who's over your town council, who's on your city officials, who they are and stuff. And just don't go in there because you like this person and vote for that person. You know what, you sit down and, hey, if you can't go and meet with them and sit down with them one-on-one and address your concerns, then you know what, maybe I don't need to put my vote there. I don't need to put my vote. I need to be able to have somebody that I can sit down and talk one-on-one. You know what, I'm a human being just like you're a human being. I love my community. I know you're representing and stuff, but what are your goals? What are your goals? We got to come out of that place of fear And we got to come out of that place. In other words, well, I'll just let somebody else take care of it. Hey, well, you're that person. You need to take care of it. You need to follow through. You need to do it. But with the grants, there are a lot of grants out there and stuff. And just like I'm saying, you got to make sure that you have the right person on your team. In other words, there's going to be and trustworthy and stuff, and do what they're supposed to do. You know what? It's not just about, one race. It's about, children, period, and stuff. So there are, and the government, they do have a lot of after school programs and stuff. A lot of stuff now has been put on hold because of the COVID, and they're slowly bringing in, the children back into the school system and stuff. But you just think about it, all those programs that has been sitting since the pandemic. So they're, in other words, getting those ready to, in other words, for people, to communities to apply to get back into place and stuff. So it's just a matter of getting your right people, getting the right people. In other words, somebody that you trust, someone that that's going to do the right thing, and stuff, and someone that's, in other words, going to question. I don't care who it is as far as in leadership and stuff, but going to question when they know something is not right. I'm not just going to sit there, because like I said, this council person, when they told me that and stuff, I just had to look at them. I just looked at them. I was like, I'm like, we don't put you in the office. You're supposed to be representing us, speaking for us, and you just let them go on and do what they want to do.
Wow.
And stuff. So that really opened my eyes about with grants. And like I said, I've dealt with 13 grants from the educational point of view. And it's also, about, in other words, the matching. And there are a lot of grants out there. You can pretty much, hey, for grants, in other words, like for, in other words, taking care of the homeless, in other words, for shelter and stuff, is just, in other words, being truthful, being honest, do what you say you're going to do, be about what you're writing a grant for, in other words, and stuff, matching, it's a lot of networking and stuff. And every time, you look around, you have some people that it's okay, they'll talk to you and stuff, but really want to get in there to get their feet wet. It's kind of like, well, I don't know and stuff, but it's about networking. You just don't stop. You just don't stop. And eventually you'll find the right connection. You'll get the right connection. You're able to, in other words, really study them to see and stuff, to see how long they've been in business, what's going on with them and stuff. And then that's who you are able, in other words, to partner up with to get it done. As long as you guys got the same goals in mind about the community.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So, I'm gonna ask one more thing, and then we'll be out of time. So I want to talk about, since you said about the city councilman, and since we're talking about budgets and budget cuts, and you know, um, grants for education that we get through state, city, county-wide. I just want to know why do we as Black people don't ever have a conversation about policy and procedure?
Well, I think too, the reason why is about our upbringing, um, you know, and stuff. I know for me growing up, it
Hmm.
was always about, mom and dad, they paid the bills, and stuff. We only would go to the store, whatever they sent, the money they gave us to go to the store, get what they told us to get and stuff. It wasn't until, in other words, I started to have a thirst and a hunger for it. In other words, to learn about finances and stuff. But nowadays, the new generation and this generation and stuff, I'm always telling people, hey, teach your children at an early age about finances. Teach your children at an early age about responsibility. So now they're coming out with kind of like a little, it's like a little debit credit card and an account that's set up for children, but it's connected to the parents' account and stuff, so that if say for example, if they're 6-year-old child, if they got an account for them, and what they do is they have them to do chores. This is what you get paid, $10. I'll put this into your account a week for taking out the trash, for doing the leaves, raking the yard or something like that. But in other words, it's getting them exposed. We've got to come out of that place where, in other words, hush, hush. I got this. The parents got this. You don't need to be at an early age. At whatever age they are able to talk and really understand, start teaching them. And stuff. And that's the reason why, and that's why too, the ones that are successful, that have made the millions, a lot of them will tell you that their parents started them out at an early age, learning about finances, how to do, and stuff. And I think for us that we need to just start at an early age with our children and stuff, and letting them know, hey, even if you can't, as far as to open up an account for them and show them how to manage, just in other words, have it set up and stuff for them to understand around the house, and stuff. And but we got to start somewhere. And to me, when they get old enough to read and to write and to understand, I think that's when, as parents, that we should start, in other words, start working with them about finances, about the economy, about what's, um, things that let them know that, what, you may be young, but you still have a voice. When you get to the age where you're able to vote, hey, you have a voice. You have a voice. And, and stuff. And we treat our children like that. In other words, give them the opportunity, and stuff. Hey, mom, I didn't like that. Mom, dad, I don't understand why I got to do that. But in other words, let them have a voice, in other words, and be able to help them and help them to understand, and stuff. So to me, that's where it starts. It starts in the home.
So when I say policy and procedure, the policy procedure I'm speaking of, Bettina, Miss Briscoe, is the policy and procedure of the citizens. Um, and I think a lot of times with the county and the city and the procedures and the policies that the black community don't understand because we don't really take time to read them. I feel like if you're a county councilor, if you're a city councilman, then you should have some type of press conference where you invite everyone out to talk about the policy and the procedures. Now, for those who don't come out to really understand what the policy and procedures are, citywide and countywide, if they don't come out, then I guess they just missed the boat. But for those that want to know what are the new policies for the up and coming new fiscal year, and what are the new procedures, and how we're changing the narrative to try to make everybody grow as one, I think that's needed, and I don't really think that's done in small towns at all.
And I do agree with you. I don't know, as far as the different things when it comes down to elections, are there town halls that are hosted where the community can come out? Town halls live, more so now because of COVID, on Facebook. Everybody's on Facebook. You don't have to read the Student Signal. You can read read what's going on Facebook. So with that being said, it's just basically holding, like we said before, holding the accountability of knowing what to ask and what not to ask, and also just asking like what's really going on with the town of Saluda. What infrastructures do you have for small business owners to come and to be able to get, because they also have county grant money to be able
Right.
to businesses too, right? So
Right.
those are things, are to ask, if you want to start a restaurant, or if you want to start a small clothing shop, a boutique, how can I receive grant money? And those are some things, you have to go through SCDOT to be able to get certified from that. Then you're able to, if you're a minority or woman owned business, then you get certified from them as well. So it's kind of like once you get that SCDOT certification. It kind of certifies you for the minority owned business and be able to, and women owned business as well. So you're able to compete when it comes down to that. But again, when it goes back to policy and procedures, it's just a fact of acting. That's what you use your taxpayer monies for, to be able to say, hey, look, what's going on? Can we have a town hall? I saw a lot of back to school giveaways, this year that took place, which was awesome. However, there are also other things that are needed, access to healthcare. That's a big thing. What is the policy and procedures to be able to have an urgent care? There's a FQHC, Dr. Gray, I believe, I don't know if she's still there or not. It's off of Highway. That's a federally qualified health clinic that's funded by Medicaid and Medicare, but mostly Medicaid pays for it. So, what about more things coming like that? We have a lot of elderly community that's in the part of Saluda, how they're able to get access to healthcare, or different things of that such, or how they're able to pay for their medicine, if they don't have a free clinic that's able to give them medicine such as they do in other areas. And so when it comes down to policy and procedures, it comes down to asking who's who. What's the question when you go to the ballot? Who are you voting for? Are you straight Republican? If that is, that's your choice. However, is it really benefiting you? To actually know which candidate really stands for what. For the most part, I also look at it's accessibility online. When it comes down to voting, most people in rural areas don't vote. They don't vote until it's a presidential election, to that point. And so what happens is, yes, president election is important as well, but also those county council, your school boards, U.S. Senate, those races are very important as well, to be able to get the agenda moving forward. And so having those questions, I look at there is a committee that has been literally campaigning early about voter registration, and they've been in Edgefield, Johnson, and different things of that such, to be able to say, hey, look, make sure you register to vote. If you moved or relocate, make sure that stuff is updated as well. So when it comes down to policy and procedures, it's basically a fact of wanting to know. You have people that are willing, but you got to be willing and able to be able to understand. So that's all right.
Thank you. Okay, thank you for that. Thank you for that. Would you like to add to that, Ms. Briscoe, before we get out of here?
Yeah, I just would like to add that also that the candidates need to make themselves more, in other words, visible, and an open door policy and stuff. In other words, look at more of building the trust of the people in the community and stuff. And I'm telling you that you can get more doors open when you recognize and people by name. People by name, and Saluda being a small town that it is and stuff, when you can get more done for you when people by name, and you're just being open and honest with them and let them know, hey, you got questions about my policy, the procedures that's going on, that's taking place. I want to let you know that you can come in. Hey, my door is open anytime. If you want to call and have a conversation over the phone, it's open. It's okay. But when you get to the place where you once you get the people in and they vote for you, and then you're gonna close the door on them, then that makes it harder for the people to come back and trust another candidate or trust another person. So it's just and stuff, just having that open door and just being like Bettina was saying, being transparent and stuff. And I don't have anything to hide. I'm here for you. I'm working for you. I'm working for you. Your vote, not only do your vote count, but you know what? I'm concerned about your situation. I'm concerned about your family. How is it going? What's going on? What needs to be changed? What can we do to make it better?
Well, that's why I specifically want people to understand that policy and procedures matters, especially when it comes to your livelihood, to your children's livelihood, and to the things that's going to change that may benefit you, but also they may not benefit you. They may cause you to pay more taxes. You know what I mean? they may cause you to be in a situation, where you don't really understand how these tax dollars are going to affect you, but they will in the next 4 or 5 years. So, that's why I brought up the policy and procedure. So, but I do want to thank you ladies for coming on and chiming in with me, and I really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. So, tomorrow, November 12th, 4 to 6 p.m., fresh market produce. Come out in fellowship. Come and see people you ain't seen in a long time. 4 to 6 p.m. Pleasant Hill Baptist Church. And man, please don't be there dragging in late. Get there early as you can, because
you'll be driving.
One thing about Bettina, I know she gonna try to get that thing done quick. So right. So with that being said, I do appreciate y'all coming in. So is there anything you want to say?
No, from my standpoint, hey, come through. It's gonna be a drive-through like it was last year. It's only gonna be one box of groceries, one bag of fruit and vegetables, and one Food Line gift card, just to make sure that we stretch the need, and so therefore we can reach as many people as possible. So I just want to say, hey, look, maybe next year we'll be able to do 500 cards, 500 to 600 cards. So we're looking for partners each year to come aboard and to collaborate. It's about the community. It's not about who's who. It's about the community.
That's
it's about
it.
So with that being said, it'll only be one card. You only be able to get for one card, you only be able to get one bag of fruits and vegetables, one box of canned goods, as well as one Food Line gift card on that. And so Food Line has been awesome to be able to be a blessing to us as well on that. So just come on out. Try to get there as early as possible. I know you guys lined up a little early, so if you want to do that, you're more than welcome, but we're not going to start until 4:00. But I just want to say thank you for the platform, Jake, for us to come on and have real conversations.
Great. Not a problem. Hey, but we're gonna definitely bring you guys back for part 2. We're gonna get into policy and procedure. We're gonna get into city budgets, county budgets, and all that. But I'll definitely be in contact with you ladies for sure.
That sounds good. I promise I'll be on time.
Okay, not a problem. So you guys have a good night, and
All right.
see you later.
All right.
All right, bye-bye.